So while we are talking about pharmacies and well-being, health has been top of mind for everyone over the last while, as you can imagine, but especially for parents with young children. As a parent, you want your child to be healthy and happy so they can enjoy their life to the fullest. But it's not always easy because there's a lot of information out there, a lot of people talking to you at Bryce, giving you wrong information. So you need to actually get the right type of advice. And we are very privileged to have somebody who, in the context of us having Mrs. South Africa on the show today, we have Dr. South Africa. Dr. Darren Green is here to give you all the details you needed to set the record straight. Dr. Darren Green, an honor as always.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. South Africa.
I don't go in that way.
I had to, man. I just had to. There should be, honestly, there should be some sort of a pageant or whatever. We should do it. But yes, and for this gentleman, GP means great person. But anyway, right, Dr. Darren Green. So kids are resilient. Kids are excited about, life. They don't let anything get them down. They don't read their bodies as well as, let's just say, you and I will. So us as parents, what we need to do is notice whatever signs that could give us some clues as to when their health is weakening. What are those signs?
Yeah, well, firstly, I think the Energizer bunnies, the energy levels can dwindle. So you know when your child's out of character. You know when they're not fighting you at 8 o'clock at night when they should be going to bed. Something's cooking.
Yes.
But often you see a bit of what's called, self-regulation techniques. When they're not feeling well and they don't know what it is, they start behaving in a different way.
True.
So energy levels can dwindle. They can also obviously start with a bit of changes in their appetite, for example, where they either don't want to eat at all or they look for sugar to up their energy levels because they're feeling down. So then they'll crave, obviously, things that up the blood sugar and give them that kick. So that's the first thing. The second thing after that is obviously all the systemic stuff. So you can imagine. So whether it's a snotness and a runny nose.
That's not near, it's been like, there was like a uniform for us growing up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. and parents didn't used to get so alarmed.
No, because he's strong, it's fine, but we didn't even know what was going on. We could have been running around with bronchitis, but you don't know.
Hopefully not bronchitis.
I hope not, yeah.
And then obviously the things that you look for are things like changes in the stool or diarrhea with that. And then fever is a very big early sign that your body is fighting against. I always say to parents, fever is a great thing. It shows your immune system is working. You should celebrate the fact that your child has a responsive immune system and obviously regulating how long they have fever and also how high that fever is crucial. But parents can definitely notice those telltale signs quite early on.
So now that we've jotted that down, I think it's important to have the guidelines because, growing up, you go to the medicine cabinet and you just throw something gets thrown at you, and then, that's how you look after your kid. But I think that it's important for us to know that some of the guidelines when it comes to treating an ill child at home, because, it can be dangerous if you, go about it the wrong way.
Absolutely. So a lot of first-time parents end up at the emergency room for everything.
Oh, of course.
Because they're scared to make a mistake, and they also don't know when to seek help. I think some good guidelines are basically if you're treating, for example, a fever and it's a resistant fever.
Yes.
Persistent, that's not responding to simple analgesia.
Okay.
Then you should obviously go and look for the source of the infection.
Yeah.
Remembering too that not every fever and infection needs antibiotics. Only bacterial infections specifically need antibiotics. So therefore you should look with your clinical examination at the syndrome and decide whether it is, or even look for confirmation on a blood test if needed before administering antibiotics in children. So for viral infections, for example, which are the most common cause of respiratory and gut-related pathologies, we don't actually advocate you to take antibiotics, and that's what a lot of parents don't know. So resistant fever, fever convulsions. If you don't treat fever properly in a child, they can even develop what's called fever fits or febrile seizures. And then obviously if your child can't ingest any fluids or nutrition, they get dehydrated a lot quicker. You'll find that they don't wet their nappies, they don't have urine production, the saliva in their mouth becomes really dried up, and also their skin turgor, when you pinch it, for example, it loses elasticity from the dehydration. Those are all telltale signs that are often very late to get help. So if your child's not ingesting fluids and is vomiting or has diarrhea persistently, it's a very important sign to seek help rather quickly.
So when it comes to help, sometimes you want to do a bit of self-medication, which is okay.
Yep.
You perhaps can't get to the doctor. So let's go to the pharmacy. Let's go and help our kids there. What type of guidance do you have there? How can we go to a pharmacist and ask the right questions to ensure that our child is, in general, good health, and maybe an early preventative idea for parents to make sure that their kids' immune system's up to scratch?
Absolutely. The pharmacists and the pharmacy assistants, when you walk into, play quite an important role. They're often the first point of call to the anxious parent.
Definitely.
So giving a thorough history, I think, is important, and they're also schooled as to where their line of jurisdiction or expertise actually starts and ends. And often you'll find, but, oh no, you can't just use any steroid cream on an insect bite. You need to look at the strength of the steroid cream, etc., and you can't put it on the face because it can cause scarring long-term, things like that. Fine-tuned information you can get from the pharmacy, obviously, regarding that. But the pharmacists in general are very well equipped in knowing when to refer on to a practitioner for examination or not.
Yeah. This is why I love pharmacists, because they felt like the family doctor, even though they were just giving you the medication that you needed. And talking about the medication, are there any sort of vitamin specifics around what we can give these children? Maybe just a mix of vitamins that you feel would be a sound way to make sure that these kids are up to scratch. I'm kind of asking you to be my pharmacist for a second. Help me out here.
Yeah, so when you think about getting a child's immune system up and going, the best thing you can do as a parent is support your body's natural mechanism of improving the immune system. And number one at that list is something you and I probably struggle with, is sleep in your industry. So sleep is very important. So routine at bedtime and getting your kids to bed at consistent times every night help regulate the immune system, and your immune cells and the response is facilitated. In your diet, obviously, you need to have some healthy foods in there with vitamins and minerals that are essential components for the cells that are involved with your immune response. If you're not eating properly, then you'll see people often then decide on taking supplements that contain vitamins and minerals. Caution to parents giving vitamins and mineral supplements.
Please.
Always look at the sugar content of whatever you're giving them. You get different preparations on the market. So check the sugar, because obviously it's no use having a product that's laden with sugar and then obviously the amount of vitamins and minerals are not in proportion or too little compared to that. But first choice, routine bedtime, good ingesting lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, for example.
Yes, sir.
And then exercise. Exercise and activity for children is also crucial.
That's such pure advice. I think it's fantastic. And, let's talk about paracetamol for a second.
Fever in children is a big one,
That's the thing. And I love the fact that we have a big role to play in terms of making sure there's regularity in ensuring that there is immune supporters behavior-wise that we need to also look at, not only what we ingest, but if we are to ingest something, these kids will, paracetamol has been recommended often for pain and fever.
Yeah, so important to know, like parents always ask me, if my child has a fever, what do I give? And your first line is always paracetamol in different forms. You get it obviously in syrup forms, you can get it in tablet form, etc., depending on the child and the child's weight and age. Remembering too that the side effect profile of many other anti-fever or antipyretic drugs often could have irritation on the gastrointestinal system, the stomach, for example. But paracetamol is regarded as a very safe drug to give with a low side effect profile, but give it in the right dose according to the child's weight. And that's what parents must do. So read the insert in terms of the dosage that you must give, and we often give too little, not too much.
Indeed.
I find that's the greatest error that parents actually make in treating fever.
Well, I think it's important, the dads that don't use a map, I think just go grab the pamphlet and actually read before you administer anything. But Dr. Darren Green, a pleasure. Thank you so much for all the pearls of wisdom. We do appreciate you, and we look forward to your next crown as Dr. South Africa on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Dr. Darren Green, massive thank you once again. This is such good advice, and we're looking after your children's health, and I'm definitely actually going to make sure that this is kept in mind when it comes to peers and obviously family, friends who think they know it all. Make sure you listen to Dr. Darren Green. Do remember, if you have any questions regarding your kids' health, speak to your doctor for advice. Don't do anything else.
Introducing new PANADO Pediatric Syrup 5ml sachets. They're really convenient to pack and easy to use, so you're always prepared for pain and fever anytime, anywhere.